Once upon a time, in a small village just below the hill, there lived a young boy. The boy was famous in the whole village for his laziness and weakness. All the villagers used to call him lazy because he lies under a tree all day. So he goes on taking naps and lucid dreams about his future. His days were passing idly by. One day, a Buddhist monk came to his village. He was going to stay in the same village for the next 3 days. Buddhist monks spend the whole day begging and preaching to the people and rest at night in the monastery outside the village. Whenever Buddhist monks went for alms and returned with alms, they found that young boy under that tree every time. Buddhist monks watched all this for 2 days and understood that this boy is a slave of mental laziness. On the 3rd day, the Buddhist monk was returning with alms. So he went to the boy who was still lying under the tree. The monk said to the boy, "Son, I have a job for you. I want you to go to the top of that hill and get me a ruby stone from there." The boy turned his head towards the hill while lying down and gazed upon its highest peak. Then after, he looked at the monk and scoffed, saying, "This is impossible. I can't get to the top of that hill. I am very lazy." The Buddhist monk smiled and said, "Hey, but the ruby I'm looking for won't be found even on the top of this hill. It will be found in the cave on the other side of this hill, for which you will have to climb to the top of this hill and get down on the other side. But it is not an ordinary ruby. You would not have seen such a ruby till date. It is a very rare and beautiful ruby that spreads its light." These words of the monk aroused curiosity in the boy. He had never heard of such a ruby before today, and thinking about such an exciting journey, he got excited inside. That's why he decided to accept the monk's challenge and started towards the hill. But the climb was very long and difficult. Soon, the boy's body started getting tired, and he was getting breathless. The body started sweating profusely, but he kept walking as he climbed upward. He started feeling happy and excited, something he had never felt before. Finally, when he reached the top of the hill after hard work and long effort, he was completely exhausted but very happy and satisfied inside himself. He had a warrior's smile on his face, like he won a fight. He looked down from the top of the hill, and before him was a very beautiful sight. He felt a sense of accomplishment within himself that he had never felt before. But the real challenge lay ahead. The boy had to get down the other side of the mountain and had to find the cave where the ruby was said to be. It was even more difficult and dangerous to get off because the slope was too steep. The boy staggered and fell several times during the climb, and fear was in him too. But for promising to bring wings to the monk, he kept on going ahead. After much searching and hard work, when he finally reached the cave, he saw that the ruby was lying there, shining in the filtered light coming from the entrance of the cave. He picked up the ruby but was struck by its beauty. He had been gazing at Ruby for a long time, but suddenly he remembered that he still had to go back. He looked at himself. He was completely exhausted. He became worried about how he would climb up the mountain. For a moment, he thought about giving up, but then he remembered the sense of accomplishment and pride he felt when he reached the top of the hill. He realized that he had the strength and determination to complete this journey again. He started climbing the hill. He had aches in his muscles, legs were shaking, lungs were tearing, and he stumbled and fell many times. But he didn't give up. He was constantly pushing himself. After tireless effort and hours of hard work, finally, when he reached the Buddhist monk and kept that ruby in the monk's hand, there was no limit to his happiness. He felt that today he got control over his laziness and did something important. The Buddhist monk smiled, seeing the expression of satisfaction and happiness on his face, and said, "Well done, my son. You learned an important life lesson today, that laziness is not such a thing that should be accepted or tolerated. Laziness is a challenge that must be overcome, a hurdle that must be passed. To end laziness, you must take your first step, go towards your goal, and keep going until you reach your destination." Understanding the depth of the monk's words and their importance, he shook his head in yes. Today he realized that he was capable of doing bigger and greater things than he had ever been, but his laziness held him back. Now he knew that he had the power and resolve to overcome any obstacle and crisis that came his way. After this, the monk blessed the boy and left that village. The lesson to be learned from this story is that when we push ourselves to achieve our goals, we discover within ourselves a strength and determination that we never knew before. We must challenge ourselves to overcome laziness and set bigger and more ambitious goals, no matter how difficult the goal is. We must constantly keep pushing ourselves beyond our physical and mental limits and remain strong from within. even in the face of failure and obstacles. Making our own rules and sticking to them, discipline in daily habits, and consistency in routine should also be developed. We can create certain good habits that can help us focus and stay active when we don't feel like it. Another important thing to tell apart is that overcoming laziness means developing a growth mindset. It means seeing challenges and successes as opportunities for growth, not as a defeat. By adopting a growth mindset, we can take a new look at our thoughts of failure and use it to improve and learn. And finally, to overcome laziness, you have to leave your comfort zone and accept the challenges and opportunities of life. Thank you for watching.